So you may have heard about Anthropic's new version of Claude, Mythos. It's their cybersecurity version. They claim it's a reckoning for cybersecurity. In fact, one of the things they said is that they don't think that they can release it because it's not something that you can give to the general public. It's too dangerous because it's so capable of cybersecurity. It really is a very concerning situation that they've expressed. Of course, now everybody is all the more excited. Now we really want to see it, and the public is demanding it even more. But of course, they can't. I feel like they may have to. They may eventually just have to cave because now that everybody knows how powerful it is, but obviously it's very dangerous because it's so powerful. It's the most powerful cybersecurity tool we really have to worry about. Their marketing is absolutely brilliant. I don't know if I should take my hat off to them or like criticize them because it's they're slick, aren't they? Too powerful, so powerful it might be dangerous. And look at how much press that and the oh, now we got to be all concerned about it. But you know what it but really we're concerned about because it's so good it's dangerous. Now I've worked in cybersecurity for more than 20 years. No, I'm not worried. If they could release it, it wouldn't bother me one bit. Cybersecurity is one of the few areas that is as poorly understood as like AI ML stuff. So, in fact, the claims that Anthropic has been making about their cybersecurity stuff getting better have like rattled investors elsewhere and that kind of thing. And again, that's because people don't get it. So the thing is, you might think, well, if that model is out there and anybody could use it, maybe a bad guy could use it. Doesn't that mean I'm unsafe? Well, not unless you were unsafe to begin with. The thing is, no AI model opens up a new attack vector. It has to already be there. There has to be a weakness in an attack surface and a flaw. So what something like a cybersecurity model could do, or any model, is it could help somebody do things like phishing attacks or scanning for weaknesses or automating generating malicious code. So that doesn't give you anything new. It just makes something that was already there easier and more available, which, does increase the risk if you already had the weakness. But really, it doesn't change anything at all. So let me give an example. If you most problems in cybersecurity are caused by access control issues that somebody's able to gain account access, because that's like 90%. So if your access control is based on hardware pass keys, plus like geofencing, plus like logging, auditing, and sanity checking, it's pretty much impossible to get in there. If like with anything less than a quantum computer or stealing the device, as far as we know, it's impossible. And no amount of like super intelligent AI can break the laws of the universe. So you're fine. And likewise, we all know that like nobody can hack a hard drive that is unplugged and stuck in a safe deposit box, right? That data is always safe. Unless you like go at it with an acetylene torch, of course. But the universe has its limits and AI doesn't change them. Now, it does, in fact, there is one thing about the new AI capabilities within these models that is actually a relevant thing to the marketplace, and that's the fact that Anthropic is getting really good at detecting code flaws and security issues, colloquially known as 0 days. That basically means that they weren't detected by the manufacturer or whatever. So Anthropic is getting really good at that, and that's worrisome because they're finding a lot. But that's not their fault. They're not causing any problems at all. This is no problem. What it's doing is it's revealing and it's uncovering problems that were always there to begin with. 0 days are in code flaws and security vulnerabilities are not some kind of cosmic inevitability. They're engineering mess ups. They're exactly the same as if you like designed electrical schematics and then when they plugged it in there was a short circuit because you designed it wrong. That's what it is. It's software that was not properly, effectively, cautiously, carefully designed with oversight and auditing and testing following good standards. That's why we have 0 days, because we rush software to production with no accountability, and when something goes wrong, the manufacturer doesn't have the liability. That's why. It is not Anthropic's fault. We've been doing this for years. For years, people have been saying, oh, well, it's too bad. We need to patch Windows again. It was always Microsoft's fault that you had to do that. If you have to patch AWS, that's Amazon's fault. That's all it's doing. See, what we're seeing here is we're seeing how bad the situation has always been all along. And believe me, I've been complaining about this for decades. For a very long time, what we're doing is we're surfacing the compliance debt that was always there. The quality control debt. The failure to audit. That has been standard for so long. It's always been standard. But as I said, it's not inevitable. It's not inevitable at all. There is software and hardware that it's like banking mainframes. That stuff is almost unhackable. It is so tightly controlled, so closely monitored, so constrained. And you know what? No version of Claude Mythos is going to get into the Federal Reserve's mainframes because they're secure. They're fundamentally secure. And I'd stake my life on it because I'm already staking the life of the economy on it, right? So it's not doing that. But what we've seen actually, and you know, cybersecurity, particularly in the ransomware era, is something that people just find terrifying and run from. But the fact is, it's not that complicated. It's just poor oversight, poor practices, and an acceptance of continually bad practice. That's what it is. Now, the thing is that we've also seen like fear in cybersecurity stocks go down when Anthropic has announced that their Claude has great cybersecurity capabilities. And again, this doesn't make sense, and it shows that investors and public don't really get what's going on here. For example, when Anthropic said that they had really great results with their cybersecurity, a company called Okta, their stock went down. They're another so they're competing with Okta. No, they're not. Okta does not compete with them in any way. Okta provides a product for access control with MFA. That's like where you put your phone code in. That has nothing to do with language modeling or artificial intelligence or automation. It's a completely different thing. Likewise, CrowdStrike went down. And while there might be like a little bit of crossover there, CrowdStrike basically makes endpoint monitoring stuff that like tracks whether or not something's going wrong. But yeah, CrowdStrike is also in no way, shape, or form like competing with or crowded out of the market by Anthropic. So what you're seeing here is that people really don't understand a goddamn thing about cybersecurity, but I knew that. I knew that. So anyway, back to Claude Mythos. Of course, this is doing exactly what I'm sure it was designed to do. Everybody's talking about it. The pundits are on it, and they're starting with like the catastrophizing too about which is perfect. That's where you get the big headline. That's where you get like to be the lead story and people really start to notice. And you know what? And when you start to think about it, the one thing that scares you more than the existence of a super duper cybersecurity AI model is the idea that somebody else has it and you don't, right? Just think about how great that is for sales now. Now every company is begging, oh, come on, Anthropic, please, we'll pay you $1 billion. Don't keep your mega model from us. I'm sure that's why I mean, now the other thing is that what they've done, and this is the legit part. So Anthropic has basically found itself in a place where it is like surfacing other people's problems that it never asked to discover, right? The 0 days. The problems that were always there because the bozos at Microsoft or the bozos at Oracle or wherever weren't doing their work, and so now we got a problem, but Anthropic found it. If anything, they're being too gentle about it. You know what? Tell Microsoft that they're going to have to pay whatever the hell they have to fix their problem. Don't tell them they're going to need more time. Believe me, we've given them way too much tolerance for that bull. Anyway, now the one thing that is an issue here is that if you find like a 0 day in something that is like communityware, open source, or like when there's like a great danger to all the users, right? Not just like the vendor or whatever. Yeah, that's a tough situation. I do have to hand it to Anthropic. They're doing the right thing here. They are making sure that they're like disclosing the stuff that they find responsibly, and that's great. But the big thing that I want to make clear here is this. The Claude mythos, being able to identify and exploit software vulnerabilities at an unprecedented level, that's really not that's not like a bad thing the way it's being made out to be. Again, it doesn't get you any new capabilities. What it does do is it makes it a lot easier to use the capabilities that you already had in a possibly automated way. It may make them more available. But you were already at risk if you had a flaw, and maybe your risk is higher. But guess what? I'm no more worried because I know my stuff's well protected and redundant and resilient. I don't worry about that because I know what I'm doing. Now, the thing about the thing about the 0-day testing, which is really nice, is that there are some 0 days that finding manually is extremely difficult for even for experts. So that's a big win there. What I'm really hoping this leads to is just better quality control on software in general. I mean, they're so goddamn lazy in that sector about quality control. They're always rushing it to market that, maybe introducing automation like this is the only thing. Maybe it is the only thing that will get them to actually clean up their act. But, if it does, that's great. One thing that I am worried about with AI is that vibe coding and poorly overseen generative coding could create more problems. But hey, if Anthropic is developing the tech to like catch those problems, and it's great if companies are being pressured to like do something about this. By all means, keep up the pressure on those whose fault it was that this problem was ever there. Right? Any vulnerability surfaced by Claude is not Claude's fault. It's only pointing out someone else's problem. So, yeah, but I do have to say, the one thing that I have mixed feelings on with Anthropic, on one hand, the way that they're handling this, it's so powerful, it's too dangerous for public release. I don't know. I just don't know. On one hand, it feels sleazy and dishonest. On the other hand, it's just brilliant. So I'm split. And maybe that's a good thing. But I'm going to tell you one thing. They're sure as hell not stupid when it comes to how they market their stuff and how they approach their press. The way they've dealt with this with their genuinely concerned press releases and their statements and everything of, well, it's tough. It's tough when you got something that great and that powerful. It could be dangerous. In fact, I have a similar problem. You know what it is? I can't be around women because I'm so handsome they can't control themselves. Oh, yeah, I know. I can't go on dates. Everybody falls in love with me. Oh, Steve, you're so dreamy. It's the price of being this sexy and brilliant, too. Oh, God, it's a burden as hell being so brilliant. Nah, of course, I'm joshing you, but you see we all see what's going on here, Anthropic. But one thing I'd say is I'm not worried or anything about the cybersecurity issues.